What is up, everybody? It's your boy Lou Martinez, aka Big Chief Burrito, live with you on a Wednesday. Fireside chats with Big Chief Burrito. We got the fire burning in the background. It'll dial down. I got the light leaks going from the fire. That's all right. I'm a filmmaker. That's how I do it. Today, and thank you everybody else for joining me so far. Make sure that if you are new to the stream, you follow us on facebook.com/2mburrito. Get notified every time we go live. Also, I do some gaming, but we also stream the show on Twitch, twitch.tv/2mburrito. If you are on Twitch, watch games, podcasts, just chatting sessions, which is the PG-13 OnlyFans, then you can follow us on twitch.tv/2mburrito. And if you want to, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and share the screen on this one here. But yeah, if you want to follow us on the YouTubes, youtube.com/2mburrito, you can catch all the old podcasts. If you scroll down far enough, you're going to see all our old content, our old movies. Even if you go all the way back, 2M Burrito's been around for 9 years. We're going to do our 10th year so far. If you go all the way down here, you can see our first movie, 5+, which is 9 years ago. And again, youtube.com/2mburrito. We also have twitch.tv/2mburrito. And after we do our videos, we put the podcast on Podbean Network, Big Chief Burrito /Podbean, and I also put them on Spotify. So basically, if you look up 2AM Burrito or the 2AM Burrito podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, you can catch our old shows. You can be, that's a joke that I'm going to show you guys in a second. But, here, there's a lot of relevant stuff here on 2mburrito.com, etc., etc. But before we get started, late breaking news. This just in. I am being told that there is a chance that Netflix is watching. Netflix, that gigantic monolith of a company, may be watching my stream, or maybe Hulu, or maybe Amazon, or maybe another streaming network. Well, my name is Luis Martinez. I'm a filmmaker from Colombia, out of New York. I have family from Uruguay. I am multilingual, bilingual, multilateral. I'm a filmmaker, Latinx, Latino, whatever you want to call me. I've made 2 feature films. I've made 15 short films. I've made over 200 actors SAG eligible through my projects. And I am here without representation, and I can make movies for you. I got intellectual properties. We won a Diversity in Film Awards. We have a open ethnicity, open gender casting policy for 7 years. We have no problems following the Oscar rules for diversity. We are here. So if you are about that casting and promoting Latinx stories, holla at your boy, because we ready. All right. So thanks for watching, Netflix. Now you can tune out now. Either way, Selena is the #1 series in the USA right now. Obviously, you couldn't have grown up in the United States in the 90s, 2000 without knowing about Selena, her story from humble girl in Texas to major superstar. And Netflix made a series about it. And we had a few actors locally. David Fernandez was going to show up, but I think he got stuck on the golf course because he's got like an 11D handicap, so he couldn't make it. He's probably having like a 7-shot over par somewhere. I'm just giving him crap. But there's 3 other local actors that came out in the series, and I thought it would be interesting to bring them on today to talk about their experiences on the show, their life as an actor, the local acting scene, and everything else in between. So I want to welcome them onto the show now. So joining us on Fireside Chats, we got Mr. Mark Atkinson, the king of I, the king of
I. Hello.
All right, and we got Mr. Anthony De La Cruz here.
Hello.
And we got Miss Kyla Sweet as well joining us.
Kayla. Hi, guys.
Kayla. Sorry about that. Kayla.
Okay.
So I want to welcome you guys along. And I want to mention it as well that I tagged the right Kayla and Anthony on my post right away. Unlike the fearless leader of our film community who got the wrong people on the thread. But that's neither here nor there. That's for another show. But thank you guys for coming on today.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you, Luis.
And I was like, okay, are you good enough to come on the show? Are you like bedridden? You're like, no, I'm down, whatever. Just let
Never
me
gonna
know.
break
No,
the middle
I'm just
class.
big. That's all.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the baby that's gonna eat COVID off of everybody? That looks like
That's what it feels like to me, anyway.
all right. Well, let's start off with you because I really enjoyed when we got to episode 8 and we got to kind of see a little glimpse of you in your '80s attire, playing an '80s hairdresser, getting your little chop on there. Did you get to keep that outfit?
I did not. Unfortunately, I did not. I got when we did the fitting for this role. We did it a few days before. There were a lot of different jumpsuits that they put me in, and it was they were having a ball. They were taking pictures and having a whole lot of fun with all the different outfits. But if you work in film, you know that like they have to consider background, what other people are wearing, and all this other stuff. So that was the one that they narrowed it down to. I didn't know which one they were going to choose until the day I showed up, and it was in my trailer. So, but it was fun though.
Was this your first like major like on-set experience instead of in terms of like a full-on like Hollywood production?
Not full on Hollywood production. It's my first co-starring role for a major network. And it was my first where I had my own trailer. I've had trailers shared them with other actors, but
Nice.
not where I literally had my own trailer with my role on the outside and no one else was in there except for me, the stylist, and that was it. So that was a brand new experience for me, which was super exciting.
You let it go to your head? Were you demanding like a latte with like soy milk and they got you wrong?
Only blue M&Ms, but that's
That's amazing. All right, Anthony. What about you, man? Like as a Latino, as somebody who grew up with, who obviously, I'm gonna go ahead and assume that you grew up in the culture in terms of hearing that music and stuff in the background. What did it mean to you to be put in a position to be on a show like this?
Well, I had a little bit of different experience. And yes, I'm from that background, but I think I'm from the background a little bit closer to the way they were depicting about Selena. We're on the Mexican American side, where I too learned Spanish as a second language, not primary language. And so, but the way it all came about is kind of really kind of cool because actually I got to work with Barbie, who actually is I call her the Reina of Baja Studios, because she's the one down there casting everything. And I worked with her on a previous film, which is actually now coming out a week from Friday, which is ridiculous. I didn't want to, it's incredible. But so on top of that, so this opportunity came via already working with her, and as we kind of became friends and, became, obviously working, I guess that working relationship, she needs more people from across the border north to come across because they need Americans, and you got Baja Studios, and I mean James Cameron made that thing. It's legit, and so there's a lot of work. I think you're going to see start migrating down there because it's cheaper, cents on the dollar. You'd be a trip. I want to continue, but I saw something recently like, wow, we literally could, instead of us trying to aim for Hollywood, we could aim for Baja Studios and get the same quality production stuff available to us at a way cheaper price for us smaller guys. Speaking of, you wanting to produce and help people make the movies.
Yeah, absolutely. So you wouldn't necessarily, as somebody who learned Spanish secondary, did you have that struggle with your identity when you're growing up in terms of like feeling that you weren't Latino enough at some point because of that? Did you have that feeling when you were growing up?
So that's a bit more accurate because you get more judged from your own people because there's like a division between those who are Americanized. I came from a family that came from Mexico, but I'm second generation already. So my parents struggled. They thought it was easier to teach us English, so we didn't struggle. And of course, we didn't. We were able to advance and actually not almost be ambiguous, like you said, Latinx. People don't know if I'm Latino, Filipino, Hawaiian. So, and then of course they hear me talk and they like trip, like, oh shoot, So again, that's a totally different experience. But I think again, line between the Mexican American and true Mexicans, you know what I mean? There's a bit of division there. I've been fortunate that I guess the racism people have talked about, I didn't experience that because I think people didn't know how to take it, you know what I mean? So it's fortunate on that.
No, I think I agree. Like, if anything, I would get shit growing up because I also, I learned Spanish, but then I learned English when I was young. So I always sort of tried to master both. But if anything, if any of my people would give me shit, it was usually because they tell me I was sounding too white or I spoke English too well, which obviously is a common refrain that people do against their own people, to sort of use that whiteness against them. They're like, "Man, you sound like Mark Atkinson." I was like, "No, I don't." But so I kind of understand what you're talking about. I used to see, growing up in New York, there would be Puerto Rican kids, Dominican kids, Colombian kids that wouldn't speak any Spanish at all, and to me, I sort of would give them shit a little bit because I was like, you should want to know a little bit more about your culture. I understand that you live in the US and assimilation, but I think maybe my parents, what they did is when we lived in the US, they would only speak to me in Spanish. And when we lived in South America, they would only speak to me in English, so that I always kind of had both. You know what I mean? So I kind of see what you're coming from. But either way, it still had to make you a little bit proud to be able to represent, or to be able to show somebody like you in that, getting out there,
Yeah,
right?
no, you're 100% right. What makes me proud is it goes beyond Selena. I mean, this is the #1 show on Netflix that was produced out of Baja Studios. It goes deeper into Mexico like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think there's something bigger going on, and I'm proud of that. You know what I mean? To contribute, be a part of it, even how small. Because I have another project out of there that's so much. I mean, not to belittle anything, but it's on a different level, and it's definitely a different. It's more of a feature film versus a Netflix thing, but both equally awesome, and it all comes out of Mexico, right? So I think we can go deeper into that, But yeah, I am proud of all the Latino influence and I guess everything that helped get it off and out and #1. Kind of cool.
No, absolutely. I think the thing that was interesting to me about all of this was that it was produced locally or semi-locally, Baja Studios, etc., and that local actors were cast. And obviously, we're not gonna pretend that you guys are like, co-leads in the episodes or whatever that you guys are, but you guys are important co-stars that come up in a major episode of a #1 rated, in the United States Netflix show. So I applaud you guys for being a part of that #1. All right. And I saved Mark for last because I've talked to him a million times on different pod. What are you drinking today, Mr. Atkinson?
This is just water, actually. But
Okay.
I'll get to a cerveza soon. But yeah, it's just water.
Now, you played the boss man. You had to go deep into deep into your roots of Denny's managers, just to pull from that cultural influence that you have, long-standing.
Market research at between 2 and 4 in the morning. Yeah. Thanks for having me back, by the way, Lou. It's only been 3 weeks since I was on the show last.
It's only been 3 days since we had the Mark Atkinson pod. Is that what's happening?
3 weeks, yeah.
Oh, 3 weeks. Okay, got it. A lot has happened since then. We did an entire hour and a half pod with Mark, and then the next day he was like, "Dude, we didn't talk about Selena," and I was like, "Damn, we did not talk about Selena. That is insane."
Yeah.
And then when he mentioned it again 2 days ago, I was like, "I get it, Mark. We'll do a Selena pod."
Yeah. Well, none of us knew that we were going to be in this season or one, even until midnight on the December 4th when it dropped. I went to bed, probably passed out 12:10, 12:15, and then I get a message from Anthony at 7 or 8 in the morning, "Dude, we're in the same episode." I'm like, "What?"
Now, obviously, that's kind of one of the things that people talk about, which is obviously, when you're part of a show like that films multiple seasons at once, you may or may not know exactly when your part is going to be,
Or if you have a part.
or if you're going to get left on the cutting room floor, though, right? Was there a lot of anxiousness for you leading up to the release date?
Yeah.
Mark?
I mean, like I said, I didn't know. I didn't think that I would be in this. So I'm like, okay, well, whatever. 2020 blows anyways. At least I'll have a little part in 2021.
Right.
And then, hours later, I'm like, oh, all right, never mind. Maybe very end of 2020 won't be as bad, but I don't know. It's just one little shiny peanut in the turd of a year that just came out, and we're all in the same episode, and I'm very, very happy and proud of everyone involved. A good product, and
You're like, Randy Davidson got Mank, and I ain't got shit.
oh, what are the odds of that? That Randy's Netflix movie that has been talking about for a year, and then our Netflix series that we filmed not even a year ago came out on the same day.
All right. So Kayla, right? I'm sorry, I don't want to mess it up. You obviously, how have you been handling this pandemic? Obviously, I understand. You're with child, as they say in the parlance. Knocked up, whatever you want to go. Like from a more like centered in reality standpoint, how does this kind of plus affect you kind of emotionally, kind of in terms of like you're having a baby, it's a pandemic year, you got to be careful because of all these million other reasons. There's all this shit that's been happening in the world in 2020 already. How does this play against the other set of emotions that you must be going through right now?
When Mark messaged me, so I guess Anthony messaged Mark, and then Mark messaged me, and he told me, "Did you see that it got released?" And Anthony says we're in an episode. I was honestly, I was so stoked. It was something that I needed, partly because, like you said, the pandemic, and it's been so isolating to live through this, especially pregnant. I have to kind of stay away from a lot of things. And on top of that, I have gotten a couple gigs, but back when I didn't look like this, right? I can't really walk into an audition and be like, "Hey, I'm a single woman looking for," they immediately go, "You're pregnant, get out of here."
Martini, please.
Do what?
I said, "Martini, please."
Yeah, I'm like selling like beer over here. So my auditions have been more limited, and I haven't gotten as much work, which has further limited my ability to be involved in the film community during this pandemic. So it was definitely one of those bright, shining moments that I've needed, that I kind of latched onto, going, yay, it's really good to see my work come to fruition. It's nice to see it get out there. It's icing on the cake that it's number one. It's even better that I got to experience it with people who I've worked with in the community, who I admire and who I consider friends. So it's just been like, it's been one of those things that it keeps you going. It's something else to be grateful for and to focus on and be like, see, there are like really good things going on, even in the midst of the pandemic right now. So,
any chance that the baby gets called Selena?
No, it is not. His name is not going to be Selena.
Okay, all right.
We narrowed it down to his name, but it won't be Selena. No.
Okay. Celine, no. I mean,
Celine, no. But I will show him a couple of other gigs I worked and be like, "You were there." You were there.
And Anthony, when you were growing up, did you always have this acting bug? I don't know a lot about your background as an actor, but is it something that you've always been doing? Is it something that you found an aptitude later in life, or when did you catch that bug?
Well, my story is very unique and very long. Let's just say I didn't start till I was age 40.
Okay.
And so I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I've been grinding, behind the scenes. I don't really, click into one group or anything. I just work, and at that age of 40, I had to be a bit more aggressive. So that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. Before that, I was a composer, musician, trying to make it in the music industry, and that failed, and I didn't start that till 28 because I'll just be brief, but I'm classically trained in theory and piano as a child and all that mess, and I threw it. I was so sick of it, I gave it up for like 10 years, nothing to do with it, and I became like a banker and all that other corporate stuff. And then 10 years in there, I'm like, no, I can't do this anymore. I got to be creative. I got to get out of here. And I literally walked away from like a big banking job and used my stock options to get all the tools, keyboards, things I needed. And then doing the music thing, you fail, you kind of try to make it. And I got to do really cool things doing music, but it kept imploding, right? You had to rely on bands, all that mess. And at one point, I had an infomercial where one of the members didn't show up because he thought it was more for me than the band, that they wanted to film the band for the infomercial. So that's kind of where the pivotal point was. I was like in my early 40s, and I'm like, dude, we're not, as old as you are, we're not famous. Like, what's going on here, So I finally walked away from music, and the infomercial made me think, well, what else can I get? So then I kind of got lucky from there, man. I went for another short, and I got that. And of course, I played the Latino Cholo. What's up, this? The first two roles, of course, right? And but that, again, that was not going to limit me. That was really getting my foot in the door. And after that, I landed a feature film, and opened up the movie, and I got Vivica Fox in my back seat, and it's just been kind of like going from there, bro. It's like I think I found my niche, because then music came full circle, and I had composer, theme song credits, some movies as well. So I didn't need that. I didn't really need a band. I guess I just needed to kind of get to films quick. I didn't. So there I am now.
No, yeah, and this is a business that I've always said, the failures are the people that eventually quit or leave it. But if you keep improving as an actor, if you keep putting yourself out there for roles, there's a need for literally all types of looks, all types of voices, all types of styles and stuff like that. One of the things that I've talked to David on the show about when he's been on as a guest is that he got a lot of he was trying to do the suave Mexican thing with the long hair, and he shaved his head. And then all of a sudden he's getting all these cholo parts basically, and that got him into the door to get more things, which is to say, can we cast the brothers in something else other than the gangster roles? I understand that the gangster movies and those parts are always going to be there, because there is obviously a Latino gangster culture that is going to be addressed in movies. But I guess as a way to, you can take a certain amount of those roles to get you through the door. Is there a place for you where you would say no to a role like that?
Well, yeah. Here it's that's kind of a good point you brought. So, I'm not in that position. Luckily I didn't stay in that position. I kind of really, I went from cholo to bodyguard to, cowboy to, because I don't have an accent, because I'm ambiguous somewhat, I wasn't restrained into that type of role. So that, and I never plan on that, because I'm kind of the guy that needs to do something new. And you're going to be tripping on my next role. I'm a pilot. My hair is cut short. I have no facial hair. I haven't been at 12, 15 years. So I will do whatever. So I guess if there's anything I can say is that, you need to know your niche and what, how you can fit, that's how you're going to get in the door, like you mentioned, as a cholo, but build it from there, know what's going on, I guess learn, teach yourself some stuff, whatever you want to do, educate yourself. But, I don't know. I don't want to say that there's one way to do it. It's your way, and find your way.
Mr. Atkinson, now.
Yes, I've played the role of Cholo as well earlier.
I know. There's a picture of you culturally appropriating a gangster look for a Halloween picture, I think, right?
That was for a film, actually. I think. Is it the one where I'm kind of like
in the orange jumpsuit? Yeah.
Yep, that was for a film. I played a inmate, actually.
Nice.
It was what was it called? Dried Up. Yeah, and I don't know. I think I don't know. All the promotion for that really dried up.
All right, guys. We are live here on Fireside Chats with Big Chief Burrito, talking with Anthony De La Cruz, Kayla Sweet, and Mark Atkinsons.
Hello.
Atkinsons. So if you guys have any questions or comments about the Selena series, what was your favorite episode? What was your favorite part? Do you guys have any questions for the cast? Obviously not about the spoilers, although, spoiler alert, if you know anything about Selena, we kind of have an idea of where the series is going, just maybe a little bit. If you've been in a coma for the last 15 years, we kind of understand what the final scene is going to be. So I guess it would make sense from somebody's perspective to not want to spoil that for people that want to watch the show. But either way, go ahead, Mark.
Unless they do like a Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, unless they retcon it and put it into a Tarantino universe where something doesn't happen. how have you guys? Well, let me ask Kayla the same question I asked Anthony. What about you in terms of like your love or decision to pursue acting? I know that you also have a regular day job, but you've never given up so far in terms of your secondary, goal to make it as an actress. Is it something that you always had in the back of your mind, or something that came to you later in life?
It was something that I always, I would have little things where I would help out other people and be like, sure, like my brother, he went to art school or something like that. I had a couple of modeling gigs. But it wasn't something that I pursued until 5 years ago. And it was happenstance. I needed a summer gig, and there was a play that was auditioning for a paying gig, and I got one of the leads in it. And it was the first ever thing I ever auditioned for. And I enjoyed it so much that I decided to pursue it. And so I just started getting my feet wet, started networking, started doing small roles, got cast for a lot of the same types of roles, especially in the beginning. But a lot of it was people taking a chance on me, like David Dawson, who's a local director. He took a chance on me and cast me as a lead in one of his in situ. And that kind of opened the door for some other directors to pursue me and ask me about roles for them. And then next thing I know, I was looking for paying things because I wanted to be able to keep doing it on the side. And then now I've turned it into a side gig in addition to teaching high school. So I do both now. And I have representation. So I was in the last 5 years able to kind of build that up pretty substantially, but still maintain it at the level where I enjoy it and I'm not desperate trying to, how am I trying to say it? I don't want to get to the point where I'm not enjoying it anymore. Because right now I still love acting. I love everything about the filmmaking process. So I'm blessed that I get to continue doing it and maybe make some money on the side, but at least it's still meaningful work for me. So
How does it compare in terms of feeling fulfilled in terms of putting a role or character into the universe versus molding the minds of America's youth?
I would have, so they're both fulfilling in different ways. I will say nothing compares to teaching. I will always be a teacher at heart. And even if I step away from doing high school, I'll probably still be teaching acting at some level because I enjoy teaching and I do find it very fulfilling. So they are fulfilling in two different ways. And I find I'm the kind of person where I believe that everyone has a purpose. We have a reason why we're here. And I want to leave this world a better place than when I came into it. And I feel that both acting and teaching and all the other things I pursue as well, my goal is to do that through those media, through those genres, through those outlets. So they're both fulfilling in different ways. But yeah, teaching is something that until you're doing it, you don't realize how fulfilling it really is and how much you can make an influence on people's lives.
No, that's really cool. I had Zoe Hendricks, a makeup artist, on yesterday, and we were talking about her experiences as an ASL teacher and kind of why that drives her, because she grew up with two deaf parents, so she's really into it, and I was really moved by it because somebody that's giving up their time. High school though, what subject do you teach?
American Sign Language. I actually have 3 credentials. I have English, American Sign Language, and computer sciences. And I've taught all of them, but
I'm just saying, during the interview yesterday, Zoe signed her way the whole way through. Not putting any pressure on you, but she was sign chatting while she was saying, I'm not saying you have to do that to impress us, but I'm just putting it out there.
They are completely different grammatical structures and syntax, so it's difficult to do that. But yeah, I teach high school American Sign Language exclusively now. I recently had to step away from coaching freshman cheer as well because my kicks don't get up there anymore. But and the sports have kind of been because of the pandemic have been put on hold anyway. So But I exclusively teach American Sign Language now at the high school level. So.
No, well, having learned a ton about it yesterday during my pod, I think it's kind of awesome that you're doing that. That's cool. Hero Team Ken, Mr. Kenneth, popping up saying, "What's up, Anthony?" Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you for joining the stream, Kenny. Thank you for watching. Mr. Atkinson, the Mr. Copycat, had to light his fire because I had my fire lit. Thank you, Mr. Atkinson. It's a double fireside chat type of evening.
Fireside. This, other than mentioning the show we're promoting now, Selena on Netflix, I can't believe that I didn't mention that in the last podcast. And I also didn't have a fire in the last podcast, so I want to go ahead and bring it this time.
Yeah, you had that horrible ass green screen for half of it. I don't know.
I think so.
I don't know.
I didn't have a green shirt. It looked like the piano was on my chest.
Anthony, what genre do you work in musically, or do you not define yourself by a genre?
I don't. I like hip hop, rock, Linkin Park, Tupac. My daughter's middle name is Amaru, but I'm classically trained, dude. I'm like a Mozart, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, whatever you want to talk about. I've been trained in all that growing up, so that's where I start. And it kind of branches obviously into everything. So yeah, I do soundtrack stuff. I do rock stuff. I do it all.
Do you, and I had Edna Longoria, who's a composer, on, and I asked her this question a while ago, and that was, do you go about your day sometimes with music playing in the background in your head when you're going through certain situations? Do you create that soundtrack in your life when things are going on?
It's interesting that you asked that. Actually, I mean, I've been playing music since like 10 years old and composing since then because I was classically trained and had to do theory and all that mess. And it's weird because it took me this many years to realize that everything that I bottle up, that I suppress, maybe that whatever it is, it's not positive, can channel out of my fingers, and it's crazy, dude. So that's I guess in a sense that's exactly it. I don't think I'm doing it consciously. When I sit at the piano, what comes out of me is kind of like that's the only explanation.
Do you, let's say I give you a scene that I want to score. Do you sit down, watch it a few times, play it over in your head and start thinking about it? Or do you watch it and just start riffing right away and start sort of trying to find the melody?
I actually asked the director what they're envisioning, what songs that do they think of, because they have references in their head. And then I'll listen to everything that they give me. And then I will take in everything, the mood, all that, and then basically channel it into something new, my own vibe, get to feel the beat, whether it's, doing some orchestration for a sound. Like I said, for a friend, I did something with a drone, right? So I did strings and symphony, kind of like for rising. I've been in a rock band, so when somebody needs something heavy, I can play guitar, I can fake it on the keyboard. So yeah, it's everything. I love hip hop, so I'll start with the beat and get the beats going, the beat loops, and just build from there. So I really can do anything. I guess. So like right now I'm in a project that's a proof of concept, right? And it's I posted about it, and we're dressed in like little warlock out, whatever. I had a song come out of my head that was more like Linkin Parky, but it was also I envisioned kind of like we'll say like a Greek gods and all that early stuff that has to do with the whole concept is, and so I brought in the whole orchestrations and the strings and all of that on top of heaviness, so modern and classical mixed in. So yeah, whatever it calls for, I've learned to kind of get out of the way, just on the vessel and channel and just let go, man. I stopped challenging it.
If you get free reign though, like if they're like, listen, I just want you to come up with something, do you get more out of a scene that's written on page, or do you need the visual?
I like the visual because obviously it's the mood, right? The lighting, what does it look like? Is it bright? Well, I'm gonna use bright instruments, higher strings and, flutes and whatever. Is it dark? Well, get some low cellos and some low bass and tubas and, whatever instruments that'll handle that low end, and then of course you can get modern and get some weird distortion. What was that? I can't remember the name right now because honestly, I don't really like adhere to one, but I take it all in. Well, what was that thing with Transformers all robotic and everything? I had to do a song for that was like that. So I'm like, I don't know how to do this stuff. So I went to go listen to it. I'm like, oh, okay, just a bunch of I'm okay, throw that in. Right. And I'm like, moving on, right? So yeah, if I have free reign, I really still don't feel I have free reign because I need the vision of the person doing this. If it's my project, I know what I'm doing and I'll usually take it over. But if it's someone else's, I learned to be I guess a flavor in the cocktail, man, and that's usually when you get the best drink. You know?
Absolutely. No, I just find it interesting that all you guys are bringing your own sort of, Kyla's teaching. You're doing music. Atkinson is.
Whatever the hell I do.
I don't know what you do. I mean, just he hangs out by the beach all day. But you guys are still pushing for to be in this career. Which is a cutthroat, crazy ass business. Checking in, Last Dragon Remix. That's Chris, I believe, watching, says Kayla glowing.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for fucking tuning in, Chris. I appreciate that. Any interesting stories from on set? Obviously, were you guys at a working Denny's, Mark, when you shot that, or was that all on set, or?
No. We shot that in TJ actually.
Okay.
And I guess there's a Bob's Big Boy that's still there, and we just kind of doubled it as a Denny's. So my scene takes. If you haven't seen it yet, if you haven't seen it yet, watch it. But it's a flashback scene. It takes place in 1963, and they had to get rid of the beard that I usually have, and gave me a haircut and dressed me up in this Denny's 60s garb. Oh, the boots are awesome, by the way. I wish I was able to keep those boots. They were like these white pleather, beautiful plastic boots.
And then, wait, did you have a full beard, and then they left that glorious stash, or was that like a Superman type deal, where you had where they had to superimpose the stash?
No, that wasn't a Superman. So that was like, yeah, I think when I auditioned, I had the beard. When I went in there, I had the beard, and the day before that, or a couple days before that, went into wardrobe, and that's when they trimmed me up, and gave me the push broom mustache, which I don't know. I think I'm getting more compliments on the mustache than my performance. So
we did a good job with costume and wardrobe.
You have something there. Yeah,
we really did.
We gotta ditch the beard.
One of the things that because obviously, it's not necessarily in my alley in terms of shows, but I always like to support anything that's Latinx themed, obviously, because we can't complain about not getting representation and then not watch the shows that are on for that genre, So I did, obviously I sort of breezed through it, but my goal was to see you guys and to just sort of see how I felt about what the reaction to the series has been so far. One of the things that I saw was that they were saying, it looks kind of low budget. I didn't see that. From what I saw visually, it looks legit. So right off top, I think that's kind of off. I don't think that's the one I did get a little. The one that I did get a little bit is that J-Lo is a lot closer physically to Selena than Cristina Serrato. Cristina Serrato's, I've had a crush on her since the Walking Dead. She's a stone cold. She's a stone cold fox, as Rosa, but I did see somebody that called her vegan Selena, which I kind of thought was a little bit like, because she doesn't have the same Selena, Texas Latina, body type. But if you're gonna nitpick about that, then I think it's a little bit. Kylie, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
No, it's okay. I feel like this is something that women in the film industry have to deal with. We don't point out that I've worked on set with both Tom Cruise and obviously in a scene with Christian, and she is tiny. She's a tiny person. She's probably my height. I'm guessing, because they put me in giant stilettos, and she was slightly smaller than me. So I'm guessing we're about the same height. She is tiny. But we don't point out Tom Cruise being short and saying, why is he playing someone who can? To me it's a little I think it's a jab at her ability and her acting skills, because I think she's a fantastic actress. And I feel like we multiple times in film, this is something that we do, like they use stand-ins, they use doubles, they use, hair models, they use hand models, they use,
You
and I
have to
feel
suspend
like,
disbelief, right?
I'm sorry?
You have to suspend disbelief.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there's not going to be another Selena either. There's not going to be another J-Lo. There's not going to be another Selena. There's not going to be another, and when we're acting and we're playing these roles, the important part, it's more important that we get the essence of the person than we have the exact body type or whatever shape. There's things that we can do in film that help to make sure that we're not completely thrown off. But I don't think it was something that was jarring to me at all, even on set with her, in the same scene. Like, I didn't go in like, wow, this is unbelievable. Like I saw her and I was like, wow, they really made her look like Selena. They right there in front of me, she's sitting there, so it's, to me, I think that they're a little bit harsh when they talk about.
Absolutely. The only thing I'll disagree with you is I don't think that it's really a jab at her ability, because I don't think anybody's going to be able to see what she did on her previous work or this. Her acting was on point. I think it's more of a culture of over criticizing that everything isn't as true to life as people want it to be. It's the same reason that people sort of get up in arms because a person playing a lesbian isn't gay enough in real life to play a lesbian, and they start getting mad at things like that. And I think when you get to that point of being able to find something to get mad at, you're slowly eroding what the art of acting is.
Yes, 1,000%.
Well, didn't you do that with J-Lo in the original Selena?
They did.
That she wasn't Spanish enough for it, and
they gave her shit because she was Puerto Rican versus Mexican, right?
Yeah, I think like I said, yeah. Go ahead, Anthony. Go ahead.
So what I'm going to say is that it's weird. This delay is kind of getting crazy, but anyway, the thing you said, again, like you're saying, is like not enough. I had mixed feelings too from what I saw, because I too had only seen how J-Lo did, and I saw the real Selena's photos, right? But I'm older. When this was all going on, I was not somebody who was into Selena at the time. I was doing other things, listening to other music, and so I learned from this, watching it again as a viewer, not as somebody who's in it. I learned that there's people. Well, I think you touched on this. People have their own vision of how it's supposed to be, or they think it was, and they're basing it on J-Lo. A lot of them are, and it's like. Yeah. And then you got some real fans. I've seen them pop up here and there that knew her prior to the J-Lo point in her life, which was when she had the haircuts and she didn't know Spanish. And it's funny because you're like, those people are saying, no, it's on point. And I'm like, that's interesting. They're not the ones that are barking about it because they're comfortable with being real fans, I guess you could say. I'm not saying the other ones aren't, but the other ones became fans at a certain point, and they don't want that to change from what they took it in as, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I think that we've reached a point in woke culture where this whole acting and you can only play the parts that you are that you are directly related to is, I don't, I understand that it comes from a place of, 50 years ago, black and brown people couldn't even play black or brown people in a movie. You would have Mark Atkinson with shoe polish on his face playing the role.
Yeah,
and it went and it literally was like that. Black people, Native American people, Mexican people, Colombian people could not play themselves on camera. You had somebody that was nominated for an Oscar that was not allowed to attend the Academy Awards. So in essence, it's that battle between, is this a correct overcorrection because of the history Hollywood has, versus if you keep going this way and I can only play chubby Colombians, then I'm basically like shit out of luck for I can't play a Peruvian. Can I play a Chilean? But I'm from Uruguay, but I'm not pale. It's getting to that point where it's I don't want to say it's an overcorrection because if I say that, I have to acknowledge the Hollywood history that's behind it. You know, so the same reason they get mad at Bryan Cranston because he plays a paraplegic, and they say, why didn't that part go to a paraplegic actor?
Christopher Reeve.
Christopher Reeve was not around, and there's no, you know, maybe Christopher Reeve could open a movie, but there's not another paraplegic actor that can. But then the paraplegics say, well, those are the only parts that we can play. So it's an interesting, very mixed conversation that's going on right now with Hollywood, and in terms of what acting is, because you have some of these kids today trying to retcon, like, you know, My Left Foot or Forrest Gump, and actors that were incredible that got parts for playing people that were disabled, mentally challenged, etc. And Tom Hanks won an Oscar for playing somebody that was mentally different, and somebody who was gay in Philadelphia, and he's one of our greatest living actors. And then people are like, well, you shouldn't have done that. So it's, how do you guys feel about, as actors, how do you guys feel about that kind of the woke nature of acting these days? Let's start with Kayla.
So I teach American Sign Language, and I've worked on set with deaf people. And this is a hotly contested issue within the deaf community. And that's that the authentic deaf experience, it is difficult to portray that authentic deaf experience unless you are deaf. And then the cornerstone of their culture and identity is American Sign Language. And so when you have a hearing actor who does not know sign language and is attempting to, do whatever sign that they've learned quickly on set, that authenticity of the deaf experience is further watered down and dissolved in the character. And so it is a hotly contested thing within the deaf community that there are so many deaf actors out there that could play these deaf roles. And I recently had a really good friend, a deaf friend, Chris, who is working for a pretty big film, and they were going to cast the lead actress, who's supposed to be deaf, as a hearing person. And with back through deaf community and hearing community who work with the deaf, they were able to change the casting director's direction, and they found a deaf actress for it. And so I've seen both sides. I think there's a fine line between authenticity and creative license. I feel that if we are taking away opportunities from other people and pigeonholing roles into the same typecast, same stereotype roles, then there's an issue. If we're continuing to perpetuate the lack of roles for Latin community, lack of roles for people of color, lack of roles for women, for deaf people, challenged people, then yes, there's an issue. But if we're doing it for the sake, if we're losing our creativity and losing the creative license, at some point we have to remember that we have an art form here, and people are working to create this art, and we have to respect the art as well.
Anthony.
So I wanted to bring up, just to add to what Kayla's talking about, is that I too involved in the deaf community, and to a certain extent I've experienced a little bit of what she's talking about. My oldest daughter has cochlear implants, and she just lost full hearing on their other ear for another reason. My other middle daughter has hearing aids. My wife does know some sign language, and I believe Kayla, my wife, will talk more. What's interesting is I'm in a movie called No Ordinary Hero, the Super Deafy movie. It will enlighten you. It'll bring you into the world which you just described.
Yes.
You got Martha Matlin, the Oscar winner, who's going in for, and it's cool. They depict it, and they kind of show you that they go in for an audition, and you got hearing people auditioning and doing this, and they think they're, and they got it's kind of great because they show some deaf people looking at her like, oh, and they're teaching her to say she's a, idiot, doing whatever. And she's, oh, like that, and it's so funny. But this whole movie, deaf director, deaf producers, first in cinema history, deaf actor. It was crazy to go to the premiere, to be at the loudest, quietest premiere you've ever been. But I want to add to, I think that was very good what you said, where not only, that's a good example of one type of actor person where it happens. and it happens with races, and it happens, So, but then you got the other, I think, influence where, we all know that bigger producers, movie people start getting their own little group together, and then it's hard to implement that, and then that also adds to the issue. They're making the decisions, they got the money, So then it comes back to maybe we need to, create our own, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
I too have management, but I don't have an agent. So I represent myself pretty much most of the way, except for my manager, who give a shout out to. Everyone's part of Hollywood, Talent Entertainment and Cammy and stuff. And of course, the great casting director of San Diego. We have all those relationships. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that you kind of have to start creating your own, start making your own if we're going to change the way it is.
No, absolutely. And I wanted to get Anthony, both to before I commented, but it's actually really interesting that both of you guys are so involved with the ASL community, because I don't know if you saw the episode yesterday with Zoe, but we did like 45 minutes on just the fact that her growing up, part of the CODA community, how she teaches, all this stuff. She's got definitely a ton of really strong takes on ASL and the deaf community. We talked a long time about it. So if you guys didn't watch it, I recommend that we check it out. Give her another shout out, because she does teach American Sign Language for free on TikTok. So she's got over 100,000 followers. She does free lessons. She gave me a little quick lesson yesterday during the pod, and it's something that I myself am going to partake. So since it's a topic that's been coming up a couple of times over the last few episodes, let's give it follow Zoe Sensei if you guys want to learn more about ASL. Yeah, not to brag, Caleb, but she did.
I mean,
like
right?
80% of the interview, she was signing it. I know. I'm not. You're not on the job right now, so you don't have to do it. Before I get to because I want to give Mark a chance to answer that as well. But I will say that Al Pacino would Sense of a Woman been as good a movie if they would have gotten a different actual blind actor to play that part? Now, would it have been a more authentic performance? Yeah, I think that Pacino's performance in that movie is a little bit over the top. I don't So, but how would a blind person literally tell us what they thought about it? But so it's a weird situation that Hollywood is in right now. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up is I have a 5-year-old nephew who's autistic and nonverbal, and Sia, an artist, is dropping a movie where they have it's about a nonverbal autistic girl that's like 18, 19 that sort of communicates through music and stuff like that. And she dropped a trailer for it, and it's sort of like a musical movie, but the actress who is playing the nonverbal autistic person is actually not on the spectrum. And the autistic community just went ham on her before. Now, this is the other part. Before the movie has been released. Okay, so just the fact that, and then she went on to, and then she defended herself like super hard on Twitter and said, like, there's 13 people in this movie that are on the spectrum. We did this research, we did this. At the end of the day, it's my movie, so it's my decision. And you guys haven't watched one frame of the movie, and you guys are already basically not debating, not saying, but basically just calling it out flat that it's wrong, that you shouldn't have done this. You are a bad person. You should know better. It's 2020. You should know better. You're getting slapped upside the head with it. As a filmmaker who won a Diversity in Film Award, because we have an open ethnicity casting since we started, and because we are, it's Latino and Black owned. We've casted all kinds of people in leading roles. It's just natural to us, right? But that's because, my writing partner is Black. I'm Colombian. So obviously it's something that's innate to us as filmmakers that grew up. But at the end of the day, when I put a project together and I cast it and I film it, it's my decision. I made a movie called The Bicycle Thief that's coming out. And it's all in Spanish, but I wanted Dominic to play the lead. And Dominic is a Latino. He's a Mexican that doesn't speak very good Spanish. You can't even order at a taco shop. But I knew that the nonverbal part of the part, the physical acting part of the part that I was requiring, there was nobody else that I had in my circle that I thought could do it better than him. So I made a decision, because it was my movie, that even though he's not native Latino speaking, even though there's a couple of non-native Latino speaking, but for the most of it, the rest of the Spanish in the movie is really good, that I was going to take a certain amount of criticism for it, or I was gonna deal with a certain lack of dialogue, because that's the decision I wanted to make in the movie. Now, when it comes to people on the spectrum, people that are disabled, differently abled, I talked to Mandy, who has a limb difference. If I write a part for somebody that's that, as a filmmaker, to feel clean about the process, and I've said this before, I want to at least be open to searching out and auditioning people that have that or are similar to that in their real life, right? So if I write a part for lesbian, gay, transgender, something like that, I would like to think that I am open enough about our casting process that I'm going to open it up to people that are both in that category and actors that are willing to play somebody in that category. And I think that as long as I promote that, and as long as I feel that that's kind of our standard, that I can feel clean about, at the end of the day, making the decision about my art and my movie that I am putting out into the world. So I think as long as filmmakers, and this is obviously geared towards like independent filmmakers, are actively thinking about and opening themselves up to that idea, I can feel good about myself, or at least feel that I am not being an advocate and not being somebody that's holding things behind. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, I have a question for you. You mentioned, Dominic within your circle. To me, that's, I'm sure you didn't mean it literally, but, does that mean that at the time you don't want to go beyond Dominic or see what was out there or did you already have the character in mind that he was going to be kind of looking like Dominic? Because sometimes what I do, I make films too, I actually have some production going on right now, and something's going to be kind of cool. And when I do it from an actor's point of view, I kind of look at it like I'm open to who the face is going to be once the character's kind of where we're going in the direction. And then I kind of draw from, like you said, and I don't have a circle, so the array of people I've seen and worked with, and luckily it's been a lot of people. And then all kind of my mind will remind me, like, oh yeah, that Caleb fits that part. Let me call Caleb for this, But what I'm getting at is that, do you think that because Dominic was more of the character, or because he was just within reach, or is it convenient at the time?
I don't know. I like to think it's like an Adam Sandler Tarantino thing, where Scorsese thing, where he brings, where there's these reoccurring actors that I have that I want in parts. I thinking about, when you asked me that, I immediately thought about, why did I say my circle? Well, I do have the 2 A and B players, which is composed of anybody that's ever been a part of a 2 AM Burrito production. And I feel like once I've worked with you and you've been in my projects, you become part of the 2 AM Burrito universe. So, when I think of something that I'm going to do, I have like the pie in the sky casting, and then I have if I needed to do this right now with zero money and I just needed to get the crew together, who would I call? Mm-hmm. And Dominic is somebody that, that went from being somebody that got kicked in the nuts. Mm-hmm. in Blacklisted. That was his scene. He was a bouncer that gets kicked in the nuts, and then he was on one of our 48s, and he had like a little bit part, but he was just somebody that kind of grew with our team. That's kind of a go-to for me. He's your muse. He's my male muse. He's my hetero life mate.
He's your
and the same way that, and he's literally a little brother to me. So yeah. Am I a little biased towards him, and was I a little bit like ego driven in that casting decision? Is like, no, I can make Dominic work in this part, even though he can't speak Spanish for shit. And I had to literally teach him the lines phonetically by saying English sounds that like SOCKS, socks, like that, you know what I mean? Like that old commercial where you can learn Spanish, SOCKS. You know what I'm saying? Just spell socks. Literally, that's how I taught him the lines. I did have an ego about casting them, so it's an interesting kind of segue to what you were saying. I appreciate you bringing that up, but I meant, but the overall topic is still like, like as an actor, like like what Kayla said, as long as people are making that effort, it's a thing. Obviously it's going to be different. My take on it, like I said, is as a filmmaker, as long as I'm making that effort to reach out to those communities to allow them to wow me and to make me think, like, you just have to be like, to thine own self be true. As a filmmaker, just don't let your ego and the vision of the movie block you from what you see is right in front of you. So if you open up yourself to, like, hey, there might be some disabled actors in my community, some some people from these sort of that, and if I'm going to be brave enough to say I'm going to write in that person's voice and put them into my universe, as long as you're open to bringing those people in, and you might surprise yourself. Somebody might come to you that you didn't know about. Like, hey, if I ever cast for one of my roles, maybe I'll find somebody that isn't Dominic. You never know. Go ahead, Anthony. You were going to say something?
No, I was going to say, Dominic's super cool. I know, and I totally, I think, and we all do that. I mean, or shall I say, we all. I think your point about Scorsese and his little group, and yeah, I think eventually you're going to have to do that to succeed, to get ahead, because you need that football team, if you will, to move forward and get that project done. So it's good to have somebody to go to like Dominic. I don't really have anything to say about, other than I think Kayla's on point. You reiterated that if you're a filmmaker and aiming in that direction, then it's better than if you're not. So
absolutely. Mark, obviously you're good. You're here just to listen. Just kidding. No. But obviously, like, it's in season to.
All right, I'll be on next week.
Like I said, hey, like I had Jose Yenke on. And he's a legend in my eye. He's been on everything from like LA Law, NYPD Blue, It's Always Sunny, Traffic. Like, so I did like 2 hours just talking with him, and then he said, hey, we got to do the cast of this thing I'm doing. So I spent the whole time talking to the cast because I already talked to him, and then every once in a while I just give him shit. I'm like, okay, Jose, let's talk to you for 2 seconds, and then I cut him off. But by the way, Crips pops in again. He says, I can play a Chinese man because I got skills. Well, obviously. Wushu, etc. But it's sort of in season to shit on the white guy, obviously. And you make parodies, you make projects, you do things like that. We had some Caucasian actors or filmmakers locally kind of get a little freaked out when these new Academy standards showed up. So my thing was like, hey man, if you're gonna freak out about needing to have a 30% diversity quote, and which could be a producer, a writer, a gaffer, something like that, then you really need to like rethink yourself if you feel something like that is going to affect you as an artist and your art. But obviously, Mark, you're in a position in 2020 as a white dude to have to deal with this shit, even though you might think in your heart, like, I'm a cool person, I don't have any prejudices, but those things are going to get put on you. Does it change really that much, kind of like what kind of projects you decide to make? Have you in the last couple of years like talked yourself out of doing something because of the climate? Because no,
not really. I mean, I'll talk about that really briefly. I mean, we made The Patio, for instance, right in the height of the Harvey Weinstein Me Too thing. It was like that November, and I think he came out with all this shit, or they came out with all this shit like in October of 2017. So there's some touchiness. I mean, wow, whoops, there wasn't any, but like there were things that you had to double think about that maybe a year ago, that you probably wouldn't think about as much. How about that? As far as diversity goes, yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I certainly don't want to lose a role because of it, but but also it's like, all right, take my part in Selena. I don't know if I was. I do remember specifically. I looked at the breakdown recently just to figure it out. They were specifically looking for a Caucasian. Now I'm not sure if the role I played was actually a Caucasian guy, or maybe I was the diversity. Because I will say this: almost the whole cast is Latino, and really the crew was all from Mexico too. And I got to give all those guys. I know they were. That was the last time I was on a really big set like that, and they really worked their asses off. So I commend them very much. So.
I didn't mean to make you sweat, Mark. I'm just kidding. It seems like there's a fire. There's a. Oh, okay. Maybe it's the fire that's making you sweat a little bit. Sorry.
I'm like Rudy Giuliani all of a sudden.
Mark's like, come on, Lou, we're friends. What are you putting me on the spot here, talking about representing all white guys over here?
No, I don't know. I don't really. I'm pretty open to everything.
Oh no, I know that about you. So but you do understand that like there's been a couple of people locally that I saw in a post thread that were like, this is the last straw. How are they going to force me to like, change my art and like like I said, when those diversity rules came out, I looked at them. Or those, it doesn't mean that you can't make the movie about 7 white guys if you want. It just means that it's not going to be under consideration for an Oscar. So it's the give or that, And when I looked at those rules, literally in my mind, I said, I don't have to change a goddamn thing about anything that I do. I don't have to change anything. The backbone of my production company is all female. Our company was funded by a Colombian, a Mexican, a Chinese person, and a black person. Like, like I delegate and I have a cast and people and camera people, sound people that I work with, like everybody that work, we have like and I don't have to change shit. And there's people that are sitting there like literally like just like raging about it. And again, the Oscars are a private organization. And they're allowed to do whatever the fuck they want. And if you want to keep making your movie, at the end of the day, make the movie that you want. Just at least be open about, be true to yourself. Ask yourself, do I have these prejudices in myself? Why am I casting this, etc. Anthony.
I mean, the Oscars, it's like going in a contest. What are the rules? Okay, that's if you want in, then you got to follow the rules. And like you said, go make a movie anyway. One thing on the film that's coming out, The Rescue, what was amazing to me is that we're all trying to make it to Hollywood. We're all we want to do that Hollywood thing, and and working on this film at Baja Studios, a Mexican studio, full blown, full open, all tanks open going. I mean, it was the biggest thing I've ever seen. And if you can, go to my my wall. I actually put a link up to the behind the scenes, and you get a glimpse of like how big these tanks and what they did with it and what the movie's going to be like. Well, at the same time, we have a Chinese production company that's there, and they're all speaking Chinese. And at the same time, we have special effects makeup people from the UK, and of course they're speaking their language. And English was just the group of us that were there from America, but to see the rest of the world coming together to make this $86 million movie that competes against Hollywood's $100 million productions. Hollywood is but this little small place that we all want to get into, but the rest of the world is doing stuff too. And I think because we're becoming more global, universal, Netflix and such, that we should probably be broadening our ideas of, like making our own. I'm an advocate for that, man. Do your own.
Absolutely. Kayla, did you was she wearing a wig in that scene, or did you at any point feel like you might actually cut somebody's actual hair, or no? Right, there was never a I might fuck up this whole budget thing there when you had the scissors there, right?
That was a thing actually when I was doing the scene. She did have a wig on, but it was the only one.
Oh.
They did not have another one of that wig, and so. It was super nerve-wracking. I mean, it's already nerve-wracking, like you're on set, you're on camera, you're trying to remember all the things that you need to remember when you're on camera. You're trying to remember your lines, you're trying to remember your positioning, your body, all the stuff, right? But then they give me a pair of scissors, like a real pair of scissors, and they're like, don't cut her hair. And I'm like, okay. But we need the sound, so you got to cut something. So what they would do is they had extensions that they would put into her hair but it was the exact color texture as the wig. So I would have to remember where they had put the extension before, and they shot the scene, the whole exchange every single time. So I would have to remember to like put the thing on her and then remember where they'd put the extension and only grab the extension to cut. So that got nerve-wracking.
How many takes?
I think we did maybe, I didn't count them, but I'm guessing like half a dozen, probably like 6 or 7 takes. And then from like the one angle, and then we had another angle where they didn't need me to cut it. They just needed me to look like I was cutting it. So, but then we did have actually, never mind. So we did have we brought more extensions back in. And so we did another 3 or 4 takes from a last angle that they decided to do towards the end of the shot. Towards the end of the filming for that day. So that was a little, nerve-wracking.
How long is a day for an actor like that? Like people think, oh, it's something that's on screen in the first 90 seconds of the show. It couldn't have taken that long. But for an actor, how long a day is that for you?
I know for me personally, or for Christian, because we both talked and we were talking about like.
No, for you, for somebody that's going to be on screen for like 90 seconds, you need to be there. They need to set you up. There's a whole scheduling, your own trailer, etc. But how long of a day is that for you? Is that a full like 8-hour day for you? 10 hours?
So without the commute, I was probably on set for between 5 and 6 hours.
Okay.
They were very efficient. Baja Studios was just
absolutely
super efficient. Even I've worked on Fox sets. I've worked on, I just had it in my head too. Prego brain. Other big productions, other sets, and Baja was actually probably the most efficient one that I've seen. They were just like,
knocking it out.
So by the time I got there, they got me to my trailer. It was about maybe 15-20 minute lag time, got me into makeup. That took, a good hour to do makeup and hair and make sure the stylist like approved everything. Christian was next to me. She was getting her stuff done at the same time. So like they were just getting us in. They got us set up, mic'd and all that stuff. That usually takes a good 20-30 minutes. And then the filming itself, took maybe like an hour or 2. But then you've got like the waiting where they just review real quick to make sure before they send you off. And then you've got like the exit.
How much direct, and this is for all of you guys for your scenes, how much direct actor to director contact do you guys have there? Are they off monitoring like a little bit further away? Are they like right there? Because if you work with me, I'm right there. Like I'm giving feedback after takes and stuff like that. What was that process like?
In my scene, she was right there.
Mm-hmm.
So she was right there with me. She came right up to me, introduced herself, very nice, very professional. I asked her, I was like, I'm from Texas. Do you want me to do a Southern accent, a Texan accent? She's like, yes, please, if you can. So we did a couple takes without it. We did a couple takes with it so that they could see what it sounded like. She came back in and she had a couple notes of like, just that she wanted more of the sound of the clip. So to make sure that it was a nice slow cut so they could get that sound. Yeah. But she was right there with all the actors and very hands-on. So
how about you, Mark?
Scene.
How about you, Mr.
How long
Atkinson?
did it take to film my scene?
Mm-hmm.
You have a smoke, I'm gonna have a drink. It took half a day. Yeah, what Kayla's saying. So you had to get a van, cross the border, and then they brought you down to the Baja, I guess. For me, I think they only needed to, I filmed my scene in TJ at that Bob's Big Boy. But yeah, the director was very hands-on. The crew was very friendly. They were mostly communicating in Spanish, but little I know I could kind of put them all they were saying in Spanish. And then
they told Mr. Atkinson, hey, we're filming in Baja. He's like, I'm already here. I'm having lobster tacos and beers down here.
Well, it's funny. After we wrapped, that's exactly what I did. Went on Revolutionary Street, had a Revolution Street, and I had some. I think I had some lobster tacos and a couple of margaritas. Yeah.
Absolutely. I know you. I know from whence your bread is buttered. All right. How about you, Anthony? How was your experience on set? How long was your day?
Well, I'm gonna say it again. I did a movie there where I spent 2 weeks, and I was treated like I've never been treated before, man. Coming off a set, off a plane, and you have like 5 sets of hands touching, taking your things off, and you're like, whoa, whoa. And then I kind of knew what to expect from Baja Studios. They're professional, man. Like I said, I don't have to go to LA to be treated that way because they won't treat me that way. Go to Baja.
Yeah. I would definitely work for them again.
What's that?
Work for them again.
I plan on it, I plan on it.
I would totally direct a movie for them if they asked me.
Bro, you could go down there and make it. Literally surprised. And they let you, of course you pay the fees, but it's not what you pay in LA. But yeah, I went down there. I already knew what to expect, picked up at the border, get down there, hair and makeup, wait. They gave me a big old dressing room. I didn't have a trailer thing. Luckily I had a room, the shower and all that. And so, they call you. It was like 5 hours. We were there for a minute and a half, whatever. And Katina was the director. Same for you guys, right? Yeah, she's awesome. I mean, female director, bro. That's kind of cool. There's a lot of things that was going on with this production. Latinos, females, and actually casting females. Oh my God, they're all over. I forgot. But so yeah, I knew what to expect, and it was 5 hours. It was in, it was out. Drop you off the border, walk right across. My car's ready to go. Dude, I love it.
That was cool.
Absolutely. Again, guys, we're talking live with a couple of actors from San Diego here locally that went down to Baja Studios to shoot an episode of Selena, the #1 series on Netflix in the United States. And if the worst that you can say is the actress is a little skinnier than the actual person, and that there's too many Latinos in it, I think we'll survive the thing. So one of my friends who actually is from Texas and went to go see Selena like when he was a little kid, did tell me that they underplayed the amount of African Americans that were fans of hers in Texas, because the cities in Texas that she was from were not very white. They were mostly brown and darker brown. So that was one thing that I'll put out there, that one of my friends who saw the series was like, hey man, just the one thing that I'll say is that Selena had a lot of influence from the hip hop community that she was a fan of, and there was a lot of African Americans that were, because she was from Texas and because she was from our city, were represented, where in Texas there's more of a mixture of Black and Latino culture. California's a little bit more separate. Go ahead, Anthony.
Yeah, but my question is, like, where do they pick up from, though? You know what I mean? We still have another part to come,
No, yeah.
Yes.
No spoilers, Anthony. I don't want my videos to be demonetized. I'm just kidding. I don't want Netflix on my.
I know nothing about part 2. My stuff's done. I know nothing. But the point being is that, I don't think we've gotten the full story yet, so I'm waiting to, one thing I did like about it, and again, I wasn't a major Selena fan or anything like that. I learned more, obviously, being on set and whatnot, but as I was watching, I believe it was Ricardo Chavarria, I believe is the dad, as I watched his character, and he played a real Latino. He's playing a real Latino dad, and I gotta give him props for that. That sternness, that vision, that that focus for the ambitious Latino dads. You know what I mean? The ones that have structure and do all that. And of course, they have their own personal, I guess, demons inside to drive them to get what they didn't get. But like I said, I really enjoyed the acting. I mean, all around, I was pulled in, going like, yeah, I'm part of it, but I'm actually liking this story and the way it's going. I was a bit more open to where it was going, I guess you could say. And I think we should continue to be open because it's really good production. I was surprised. It's good.
No spoiler alerts, but but I think that it is a story worth telling right. And if we can get some women directors behind the camera, if Netflix is open to pitching a series that is sort of showcasing a positive Latinx family, Obviously, one day at a time just got, finished its fourth season and it got canceled. There's very few Latin representation. They keep saying they're looking for more Latino filmmakers and storytellers, and we keep raising our hands. I hope that this opens it up to more stories, more points of view, across all platforms and across all genders and across all races, obviously. So, we are talking live. We've done an hour 21, so I'm just going to ask a couple more questions and let these fine actors go do their Uta Hagen exercises before they go to bed.
Oh, yeah.
But I do want to do a shout out to some of the people that have been on the pod this year. And since it is Christmas time and people are buying each other gifts, instead of putting some money in Jeff Bezos' pockets, I would recommend that you guys check out some of the people that are friends of mine that have their own little stores. So go to M&M Custom Designs. They have an Etsy shop where they do custom stuff, like little trinkets and stuff that you can give to somebody. The same trinket that you would buy on Amazon, you can buy through somebody else. And they're at M&M Content Design. My homie John Griffin, he's a painter based out of Illinois, at John Griffin Art on Instagram. Incredible paintings. I have his comic book somewhere, but you can find John Griffin out. My friend Dave Callens, if you want to find more stuff in San Diego, look on Facebook for a group called Shop Local SD. Shop Local SD on Facebook. It's one of the groups run by Dave Callens, and there's plenty of local businesses that could use his support during the holidays. Obviously, we're during a lockdown. And if, like I said, if the difference is waiting an extra day, because you're not getting it through Prime, but you're helping out a company that needs to stay afloat, that's fine. Recently, I got a chance to speak to an organization called Community Through Hope.org. They are focused on the South Bay, Chula Vista, and helping people that are in need of supper, that need things for the winter. They're doing a coat drive, sock drive. They need volunteers, or if you yourself, it doesn't take that much to be hungry during this time and need a bag of groceries. And if you need help, look them up. Community Through Hope. No judgments, and they might be able to help you out. And man, there's a lot of people that have been on the show. Jose Yenke has an organization called Arts for a Better Tomorrow, helping out underprivileged kids in TJ and San Diego and LA, helping them deal with their trauma through the arts, through acting. Incredible fucking organization. I'm going to do a seminar with their kids about directing at some point soon. And again, to learn more about ASL as a second language, how to learn for free on TikTok, Zoe Sensei on TikTok. She's got 100,000 followers. She's an awesome makeup artist, etc., etc. And then I had one other thing to say.
StevenSinger.com.
StevenSinger.com. What do you get the Netflix executive that has everything? Well, what do I buy them for Christmas? Well, here's a recommendation. Coke Spoon. You can get them a personalized Coke Spoon with a funny logo on it, like this one that's got the chick from Pulp Fiction. Why would you need a tiny spoon? Because you're a Netflix executive and you're busy and you ain't got time to chop up a line. So get yourself a nice Coke Spoon. Sorry, I had to do that. That was one of those things that come up in your timeline, and you're like, "Why are you advertising this to me?" I know maybe one fiend that might appreciate that. Anthony, you went through your cycles of music to acting to back to music. You get a chance to go back and talk to yourself before this process, like 17, 18-year-old Anthony. And you get a chance to tell him, you can either say, hey, man, you might just want to start here, but because that's what you're going to end up anywhere. Or you could say nothing and let the whole thing play itself out. But you got to tell yourself something. But you got to say something to you. What would you go back and tell yourself?
I think the only thing I would tell myself is, when you finish your shift at the Hotel Del, drop off most of the money at your bank or your house, and only take 50 with you out instead of pockets swole and use it all that night like a box stuff.
Okay, don't blow your wad at the strip club. I've been there.
Basically, other than that, the journey has led me here, bro. I mean, at the Del, I met so many famous people. I saw Tommy Lee go nuts on somebody, when he used to do that back in the day. I shook
Nice.
hands with Bill Clinton. I watched Baywatch get filmed. And I always wondered, like, why, right? 25 years later, when I decided to become an actor, I ended up doing a Daydream Hotel, a small part in there, but I filmed at the Hotel Del, and it was a trip. So full circle. No, everything was supposed to happen as it should.
Absolutely. When I first came to San Diego after being in New York in '97, my mom was out here and we went to watch a movie at Fashion Valley Mall, theater like 15 or something. I don't know why I remember it, because I remember every movie that I've ever seen in a theater with every person I've ever seen it. From when I saw E.T. when I was a kid with my dad, to seeing Tango and Cash with my dad in a theater in Colombia. I saw What Dreams Have Come with my mother in a theater in El Cajon once. I don't know why, but I remember every movie I've seen in a theater with every person I was with for my entire life. It's just something that is available to me. So I saw a movie with her there, and this was 1996. And then 2006, 17, I got into the San Diego Latino Film Festival. My movie screened in the exact same theater, and I got to see it with my mom. My movie on the big screen 20 years after I had seen a movie with her there. So that was a moment for me. Kayla, obviously you have a ton of things happening in your life. I can't imagine being 8 months pregnant in a pandemic, although I could probably play it on TV if I needed to. But if you not as far back as when you started your dreams of acting, but if you could just go back like a year, and talk to yourself before all of this happens, do you give yourself some reassurance that at the end you're going to be in a better place? How do you reassure yourself?
I think I've always had the mentality of just take things one step at a time, and that I hate this cliche, but it's just as much about the journey, and to enjoy like the people that you meet along the way, and enjoy the little projects along the way. And the more that you do that, the more you soak in, the better your skills will develop, the more you develop as a person. And it's just, as long as it's more about the experience itself, and if you can focus on the experience itself, then you're really, there's no looking back and going, well, I wish I would have, done this. There is none of that, because you already were able to soak in everything and get the experience. So I would just, if I were to tell myself one thing, it would just be stay on this path and keep that mentality, because that's where you're going to feel the most fulfilled and successful, like we were talking about before. So
good answer. Good answer.
Well, thank you.
Give us a funny ASL virtual Zoom high school teaching story.
Oh gosh. I had a kid who, like, this I did not think that this would need to be, I would ever say these words out of my mouth. Can you please get out of bed and put a t-shirt on? Because we have other kids in the class right now. So bring down the cover, sit up, and then you're gonna need to put a shirt on, please. So
Matthew McConaughey.
It's a real thing. It's definitely been a wild ride trying to do.
You ever
hard enough, but like digital learning high school is challenging.
Yeah, I think it's a bad idea overall. About you, Mr. Atkinson, how I mean, I know we've talked on, we're always chatting, but what has been the thing besides beer that has gotten through you through this pandemic?
I've actually cut down. I think definitely modern technology, just being there on Facebook Messenger or on Zoom. I get out a lot too. Ride my bike and all that stuff. That's kind of my thing. I ride my bike around the bay.
You did that bit on the news where you.
Oh, yeah, right. And I've been creating my own content too. Yeah, following the elections. Yeah.
You said you were Mr. Quint.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about that? Yes, but
Yeah, you Baba Booey the news. You got on there.
If I went back, yes. If I were to go back in time, maybe that would be the only thing of 2020 I would change.
You would have done. You would have done the voice.
Or Baba Booey or something like that instead of Baba.
Okay. Yeah, Mark got the news to put a graphic up of his name as his made up name from his one of his parody movies, and it was very meta. It was very meta.
Glasses.
It was very meta, Mark Atkinson. Mark? What is? I mean, I know you started doing some of like your little fake news segments and your little Uncle Mark's things. Are you going to keep creating content? What can people look out for? And I was going to tell you guys, if you guys copy your handles where people can follow you and put them into the private chat, I want to show them at the end if there's somewhere where you want people to follow you. Just put it up there. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I got a couple of films in the film festival circuit, the virtual film festival circuit. And then, starting to make a little short. Already shot one scene, and then hopefully we'll shoot another couple of scenes before Christmas. It's kind of hard during the holidays, even with COVID, but it's really just an odd time to start making movies. But yeah, starting to that, and probably have a couple other things lined up for January. So 2021 will be definitely better for everyone. Is my prediction.
What do you guys feel about? Because one of the things that I'm noticing in the local film community, there's a lot of virtual events and stuff like that, obviously. But
right now,
yeah. But the other day, I saw a post, and it was like a group of like 15, 20 actors. And they're in this circle, and they're basically celebrating, the end of a shoot. And I was like, in my mind, I mean, I don't know, like, I'm in a different situation. Like everybody, like most people know, I take care of my pops, who's 89 years old. He's got shitloads of pre-existing conditions. So I made a decision in March that I was just going to lock it down. The only people that come in and out of the house are me, my roommates, my girl, and that's it. That's the only people that I interact with in the world, and the DoorDash delivery, right? But so I don't negate anybody the right to make a movie. Like I said, it's your art, it's your movie. But I feel like it would be wrong to not say that it feels like. And then when I saw, people that were involved, I was like, I hate to say it, but I kind of was like, oh, okay. If it feels a little bit irresponsible to me. I understand that, and here's why it feels irresponsible is because I don't think a lot of these people are getting paid. It would be one thing if you had a budget for an AT&T commercial and you had the ability to get rapid testing, a COVID officer, have only the amount of people on set based on the square footage of your location, etc. But because you want to make a movie, and because you're like, fuck it, and but you're not paying anybody, and you're gonna fucking feed me Little Caesars and a juice box, and you're just gonna be like, hey, everybody, take a test if you can, or like, we're gonna check your temperature. Like, I don't know, man. Like, local film community needs to fucking chill the fuck out and just take the fucking L on your project and wait till the fucking summertime and film it. If you absolutely have to make a movie right now, I feel you're kind of unprofessional. Unless you're paying your actors and you can prove to me that you're doing full protocols in terms of distance, testing before people step on set. I understand it's young, there's a lot of younger people, you might not feel it, but really I lose respect for you as a producer and as a filmmaker if I see you like forcing yourself onto me by promoting that you're making a movie right now. Feels fucking stupid. And I'm sorry, and I thought I felt a little bit less angry about it than I do, but honestly, man, like, I should use her at capacity. San Diego's about to be on nobody's paying attention to it, right? There's nobody that's going to stop you from doing whatever the fuck you want, right? But if you insist on promoting the fact that you are on set, woo, then I think less of you immediately. Any thoughts on that, guys?
I did actually. Sorry, Mark, are you going to talk?
Well, I was just like, yeah, I'm making a movie. And he's like, yeah, don't. Because you're a professional. I will say the only scene that I did is just a confessional scene with me and the cameraman. And one reason why we are pushing it back is because one of the guys is high risk. So it's
If you're
just not.
doing, look, if I was doing, I filmed stuff with Kenny and my roommate throughout the whole pandemic. We lived together.
Yeah.
If you're telling me it's 2 or 3 people and you guys are absolutely 100% sure, then yeah, do that. You're just gonna have to take the criticism. I'm not gonna shit on you because of that.
Mhm.
But if you're fucking casting and you're fucking getting people that you don't know you and you don't know where the fuck they've been for the last 2 weeks and you don't know what test they took, this ain't, I took a test a week ago. It's not like AIDS. You took an AIDS test a month ago. You haven't fucked nobody. I'm pretty sure you don't have AIDS. It does the same thing. The COVID test doesn't carry over. You've walked around. You've gone to stores. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe AIDS is not the birth, but what I'm saying is like it's not that type of test. It doesn't carry over with you. I just got my test results. When I took the test 2 weeks ago. Well, fucking whoop-de-fucking do.
Right.
Now I knew 2 weeks ago you were feeling fine.
Yeah.
And it is a fact that people that have no symptoms are the people that are carrying it. And so yeah, I'm not saying that you can't do it safely. I'm just saying you're gonna get shit from me. And if you're not paying people and you have 15, 20 people on set and they're not getting paid, but you're taking advantage of the fact that they are hungry actors and are willing to put themselves at risk, I got a problem with that. Sorry, Kayla, you were going to say something.
I would only have 3 or 4, and they would all get paid, and that's the only reason why I'm having only 3 or 4.
Are you Kayla? I'm sorry. I'm giving you a shake. I was like, but I literally just said Kayla. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I did when this had to have been in like May, June. Okay. We were opening things back up again. And I did one scene for a local short film. And after I had to tell the director that I wouldn't be completing the project. And I hate doing that. I don't sign up for things unless I can carry it through, and it has to be some kind of extenuating circumstances. This is the first time I've said post-emptively after shooting a scene, you're going to have to go without me. I was one of the leads in it because they were so flippant on set about no masks, we were doing outside kind of little bit, but the scene itself was inside. There were lots of people on set. No one was wearing masks. It was very unsafe. And I'm pregnant, and I was pregnant at the time. And I just had to say, like, this is just not safe for me, and I don't feel that I can support the project, and I don't feel like I can be a part of it. And I backed out of it, and I felt really bad about it. But now knowing what has happened since then and how it has spread and how it's continued to evolve over the last few months, I'm glad I made that decision, but at the end of the day, like you said, people are going to do what they want to do, and people are going to believe what they want to believe. And if I get angry, then it reminds me that there's things that I would like to be doing, but I'm not. And that makes me focus on what I don't have as opposed to what I do have, which is, like we talked about the first thing, Selena's been awesome, focusing on those things. That's like, here's what we do have going on for us right now. We can't focus on, hey, I can't film. We can focus on, hey, I can write, hey, I can develop my skills. I can be doing this. I can be focusing on myself so that when I'm ready to be a shell for another character, I can portray it. It's like there are plenty of things that we can be doing. And I try not to focus on the people who are, being flippant and irresponsible. So
when you bring when you let your I don't want to say political opinion, but your overall thoughts about a situation where it affects other people's free will, that's where I have a problem with it, sort of. I feel, Anthony, I want to let you get your thoughts out.
I agree with you. I'm fortunate that I've been busy all through this. The phone's been ringing this way, but I've been very selective because I'd say I sat out for the first maybe 6, I don't know, all up to August maybe before I decided to take a gig, because I'm like, I'm not having anybody amateur stick a freaking swab all up in my brain. I'm like, I'm good, and luckily, I mean, I've worked hard where all these projects, it's weird. I mean, I've like literally right now, I mean, I've in the past 4 years, I've had projects that are that far out somehow wrap up in this month. It's just weird. I mean, big stuff. It's like all together, right? So I didn't have to worry about going out and getting more gigs. And, you know, I'm like, I'm good. But I did see exactly what you're saying, where there are people that are still desperate, you know, want to get in and, you know, they love it. You know, we all did. We were at that point. But this is the time where I agree. Some people are taking either advantage or the wrong time to take advantage of that situation. And now we got, you know, like I said, I would have the issue with people preying on those who are desperate to be in a film, to get the film done during this time. Yeah. I have projects going. I've got a pre-production right now, but we're spacing it out because I can't anticipate filming until after February, March, right? So let's go get the location. Let's start getting the script done. You know, like Kayla said, let's work on that portion of it. Let's do maybe B-roll and some, you know, establishment shots. But I'm not, you know, we can do the interact later. You know, I've been on projects where I have agreed to go on, and each one of them has been professional. You know, I only go, you know, unless, put it this way, when I decided to go and cross over and try to get these tests, I finally had a test. I'm like, all right, that wasn't super bad. I didn't go all the way with my brain because the tests have got a little bit easier, you know, not the initial ones. So I've eased myself into it, but again, I'm not picking everything. I'm not going everywhere. And I do feel for those who are eager, you know, don't put yourself in this situation yet. I mean, be patient. I mean, unfortunately, we don't have a choice. This COVID thing is just more an enigma, if anything. You know, I don't see signs of it around me. It's not in my neighborhood. My neighborhood looks fine when I walk outside. You know, I can see any of these riots going on, but, you know, something's going on. So just, you know.
It's a big world. I think a lot of the things and issues that people have are perspective because they only see what's in their bubble of around them, you know, and I think that, you know, getting perspective, especially for kids, you know, when they get depressed and shit like that, like it's all about, you know, going out of your bubble to sort of see where you're at. And like I said, everybody's entitled to make. At the end of the day, it's your art. You're entitled to make the movie. But if you are putting other people's health at risk because of your ego or because of your thought process, and you're, you know, and these people are making these decisions based on that, then I don't think it's cool. All right. Okay. Hey. Thank you for dropping by the stream, Jody Silly, making a negative hair. Oh, hi, Mark.
Hey, Mark. And Anthony,
because she's so technically gifted, she made the same comment twice. Thank you. I'm just giving Jody shit. So Jody, this is Anthony and Kayla. They are the ones that are actually in the Selena series. So just since you're watching, they're the two at the bottom of the screen. I'm just introducing you guys for later. I'm just giving you shit. So relax. Thank you for stopping by. All right. Well, from Kayla grabbing her back, I think she's getting a little uncomfortable. We don't want to get the pregnant lady. We don't want to get the pregnant lady mad. So we're gonna wrap it up. I could sense you over there, like, all right, enough, Louis. So I'll let you make. So you guys.
Said it all.
You've said it all. What have we learned? What have we learned, Mark Atkinson? Hey, Mark, can we lock up us making a fucking Stern fan fill at some point? I believe, you know, post COVID. Can we just
big news? This is great. Selena's number one. We can do that.
Re-signed
for another 5 years.
Mark Atkinson resigns for. We got time to make a relevant Stern Show universe fan film that we can get promoted on the show. I think that should be our joint goal for next year. Follow Mr. Mark Atkinson at the Mark Atkinson. I call him the King of I.
Yes.
Self promotion and the whatnot.
I didn't have to do it this time around though. So
we did it for you. The world did it for you, and you can see him on episode 8 of Netflix's Selena. No spoilers, but he's got a stash rocking, and he's working that stash. And then follow Kayla at K Jean Sweet on Instagram to follow her life as a high school teacher, actress, humanitarian, and Mr. Anthony. I know that I've peripherally had you as a Facebook friend for a while, since you're an actor, and I always add actors and stuff and keep them sort of in my circle for things that come up. But I am glad I got to talk to you and learn a little bit more about your path, etc. So hopefully in this post-COVID world, what Jody said, she said, I did not show up to be heckled. And I fixed my comment. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Although you can look mine up at anthonydelacruz.com or Google my name, and I do come up on a panel on the right side. It's kind of cool. More importantly, get ready for The Rescue coming out on the 18th. Big blockbuster. Pretty cool.
The Rescue. All right, man. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Everybody go watch Selena, #1 show. Hopefully there'll be more. My name is Lou Martinez, Big Chief Burrito. Follow us on Facebook.com/2mburrito. I'll be notified when we go live. I do interviews twice a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, sometimes Thursdays. I do gaming and other interviews on twitch.tv/2mburrito. If you do follow any gaming, any interviews, or just chatting, make sure you give us a follow. It'll also notify you when you go live. And if you want to see all the movies, projects that I've done with actors in San Diego, 2 features, 15 blah blah blah, youtube.com/2mburrito. Thank you everybody who dropped by the stream today and made comments, and again, you guys, I wish you the best of luck in your acting journey post COVID. Congratulations on the baby there, Kayla, and I wish you nothing but health and a good process during that thing. Good luck with you and your music, Mr. Anthony. Hopefully we get to weather on something post COVID. Mr. Atkinson, you said it all.
You said it all. Thanks for coming out.
5 more years and a movie out of Stern. 5 years and a movie, right? 5 seasons and a movie. That's what they say. All right, guys. I'm going to let this cat video play. I will jump back on if you guys want to do a wrap-up afterwards. But if not, go ahead and leave. That's all. I've been Big Chief Burrito. This is Fireside Chat. Selena #1 series. Anthony, Mark, and Kayla on the stream. Thank you very much. We're out.
Thank you.